Welcome to Secret Lens History. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more exciting stories from the past. Goalkeeper Sam Bartram stands alone in the thick fog, waiting for a match that ended 15 minutes earlier. Everyone else had left the pitch, but he remained at his post, unaware the game had been abandoned on that foggy Christmas day in 1937. The chaos of October 29, 1929, is frozen here, the final frantic day of trading before the market collapsed. As fortunes vanished, the crash would spiral into the Great Depression, reshaping lives around the world. Explorer Carl Ackley poses beside the leopard he killed with his bare hands after it attacked him during an expedition in Somalia in 1896. Bruised but alive, he later became one of the most respected naturalists of his time. John F. Kennedy and Jacqueline Bouvier share a quiet July afternoon on Cape Cod, newly engaged and full of promise. Just months later, they would marry and begin their path toward America's most famous political partnership. Soldiers wait ashore at Omaha Beach on June 6, 1944, facing relentless gunfire. The D-Day invasion marked the turning point of World War II and the beginning of Europe's liberation from Nazi control. Captured in 1927, this gathering brought together 29 of the greatest scientific minds on Earth. Einstein, Curie, and Bohr sit among them. 17 of the attendees would go on to win Nobel Prizes, defining modern physics for generations. Henry Behrens, one of the world's smallest men, dances happily with his cat outside his home in Worthing, England, in 1956. Standing just 30 inches tall, he found joy and fame performing across Europe with a touring troupe. Einstein looks calm and thoughtful in this image from his later years. Born in Germany in 1879, his ideas about relativity forever changed how we understand the fabric of time and space. Members of the Crow Nation watched the rodeo at Crow Fair, Montana in 1941. The annual gathering celebrates Native heritage and resilience with parades, dancing, and traditional dress that continue to this day. Sophie Scholl, executed in 1943 at just 21, fought the Nazi regime with words, not weapons. Alongside her brother Hans, she distributed anti-war leaflets across Munich, an act of conscience that cost them their lives but inspired generations. Charlie Chaplin in 1916, at just 27 years old, was already one of the most recognizable faces in the world. At the height of silent cinema, he had created his iconic tramp character, a symbol of humor and hardship that audiences everywhere adored. A German soldier stands in a muddy dugout during World War I, gripping a sawtooth bayonet. His metal browplate hangs down around his neck, a reminder of the brutal and improvised gear soldiers used to survive the trenches. In 1913, 3 men sit around a card table, the tallest, the shortest, and the fattest men in Europe. Known as Cornelius Bruns, Canon Colossus, and their diminutive companion, they toured together as part of a European sideshow. A utility worker breathes life back into his colleague after an electric shock in 1967. The photo, later titled "The Kiss of Life," captures a moment of human instinct and courage that likely saved the man's life. During World War II, Princess Elizabeth served as a mechanic and ambulance driver with the Auxiliary Territorial Service. In this 1945 image, she's seen in uniform, proving that even royalty did their part in Britain's war effort. Jesse Owens stands proudly during his gold medal ceremony at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. He had just defeated Germany's top long jumper, Lutz Long, defying Nazi racial propaganda and becoming a symbol of dignity and excellence. A century ago, dancer and courtesan Mata Hari faced a French firing squad, accused of espionage. Before her execution, she blew a final kiss to her captors, a gesture that turned her into one of history's most mysterious figures. In 1960, 6-year-old Ruby Bridges walks to school escorted by U.S. Marshals. She was the first African-American child to attend an all-white elementary school in New Orleans, facing daily protests with quiet bravery. Salvador Dali stands aboard the SS Normandy in 1936, arriving in New York City with his signature eccentric flair. The surrealist artist was greeted as both a genius and an enigma, ready to shock and inspire America's art world. The Navratil brothers, Michel and Edmond, sit quietly after surviving the sinking of the Titanic in 1912. They were the only children rescued without a parent on board, later reunited with their mother in France after the disaster. Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. are seen together in Montgomery, Alabama, around 1955. Her quiet act of defiance on a segregated bus and his leadership in the ensuing boycott ignited a movement that transformed American civil rights. In 1945, the Mona Lisa was carefully unpacked after years of being hidden from Nazi looting. The painting had been moved across France during the war for safekeeping, and this moment marked its return to the Louvre. In 1935, a group of bootblacks gathers around an aging Civil War veteran in Pennsylvania. The image captures two generations, one shaped by war, the other by the Great Depression, meeting on a quiet American street. As Paris was liberated in August 1944, American soldiers looked on as the French tricolor once again flew from the Eiffel Tower. After 4 years of occupation, the moment symbolized freedom, restored to the heart of France. Eunice Hancock, just 21 years old, operates a heavy grinder in a Midwest aircraft factory in 1942. Like millions of women during World War II, she stepped into an industrial role once reserved for men, keeping the war effort alive. In August 1939, an unemployed lumber worker named Thomas Cave travels with his wife to harvest beans in Oregon. His Social Security number is tattooed on his arm, a stark mark of the Great Depression's toll on American workers. Leo Tolstoy, photographed in 1908, sits calmly at his estate in Yasnaya Polyana. By then, the Russian author of War and Peace and Anna Karenina had become a moral and literary icon known around the world. Colonel Thomas Edward Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, stands in full Arab dress. The British officer became legendary for his role in the Arab Revolt during World War I and for his writings on the desert campaigns that followed. A young Winston Churchill poses in uniform as a cornet in the 4th Queen's Hussars in 1895. At just 21, he was already chasing adventure, beginning a journey that would one day lead him to lead Britain through its darkest hour. Aboard Air Force One in November 1963, Lyndon B. Johnson takes the oath of office beside Jacqueline Kennedy, still in her blood-stained suit. It was just hours after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas. In war-torn Warsaw, November 1946, a photographer sets up his own painted backdrop to cover the ruins behind his subject. Amid devastation, he restores dignity to his portrait clients, creating beauty in a city still recovering from destruction. A weary man returns home to Vienna around 1946, a freed prisoner of war carrying all he owns. His face shows both relief and disbelief, stepping back into a world that had moved on without him. Isambard Kingdom Brunel stands confidently before the massive chains of the SS Great Eastern. Taken around 1860, the photo captures one of the most brilliant engineers of the 19th century, the man behind tunnels, bridges, and steamships that defined an era. Martin Luther King Jr. looks determined and calm, embodying a movement built on peaceful resistance. His words and marches would reshape the moral conscience of a nation. At the 1931 premiere of City Lights, Charlie Chaplin arrives in Los Angeles alongside Albert Einstein. The unlikely pair, a comedian and a physicist, shared mutual admiration and a brief moment in Hollywood history. In Paris, 1918, a Senegalese World War I veteran writes a letter using his new prosthetic arms. Having lost both limbs in combat, he's part of a rehabilitation program helping wounded soldiers rebuild their lives through perseverance and skill. Nicknamed Popeye, this veteran stoker aboard HMS Rodney had served the Royal Navy for 21 years when this photo was taken in 1940. His weathered face and calm gaze reflect a lifetime at sea during turbulent times. In 1958, Pablo Picasso poses in Cannes, playfully holding a revolver gifted to him by actor Gary Cooper. The moment captures the legendary artist's mischievous personality during his later, more relaxed years on the French Riviera. The Red Army liberated Auschwitz-Birkenau on January 27, 1945, revealing the horrors of Nazi death camps. This image, taken during the liberation of Bergen-Belsen that April, shows the unimaginable toll of genocide and the first moments of freedom for survivors. Albert Einstein, photographed around 1930, appears thoughtful, his expression calm yet distant. By this time, his theories had changed science forever, and his face had become a global symbol of intellect and humanity. Paratroopers of Easy Company, the unit later immortalized as the Band of Brothers, pose at Adolf Hitler's mountain retreat in Berghof, 1945. After years of brutal fighting across Europe, they finally stood in the heart of the defeated Third Reich. In July 1937, nearly 1,000 uniformed members of the German-American Bund marched through New Jersey, proudly displaying swastikas. The shocking parade revealed just how far Nazi ideology had spread, even across the Atlantic. In 1963, two German brothers meet again across the Berlin Wall during a brief border pass agreement. For a few precious hours, divided families could see one another before being separated again by barbed wire and politics. Winston Churchill visits the Hollywood set of City Lights in 1929, sharing a laugh with Charlie Chaplin. The two men, icons in their own fields, crossed paths just as the world teetered between peace and depression. King George VI addresses the British people in September 1939, announcing the declaration of war against Germany. This staged photo recreates that solemn moment, a king speaking to a nation entering its greatest test. A. Milne, creator of Winnie the Pooh, sits beside his son, Christopher Robin, and the real bear who inspired the story. Taken in 1926, the photo captures the gentle beginnings of one of the most beloved tales in children's literature. Test pilot Chuck Yeager stands proudly beside his aircraft after breaking the sound barrier in 1947. Flying the Bell X-1, he became the first human to exceed the speed of sound, a defining moment in aviation history. A young boy runs away down a dirt road in the 1958 photo, The Runaway, clutching his small bag. The image became an American classic, a simple but powerful symbol of youthful independence and rebellion. In 1945, Major Dick Winters and the men of Easy Company relax at the Eagle's Nest, Hitler's former mountaintop residence. After years of combat, the soldiers who helped end the war finally enjoyed a rare moment of peace. A soldier of the 1st U.S. Army moves cautiously among the rubble inside the monument to the Battle of the Nations in Leipzig, April 1945. The ruins around him are a stark reminder of the final battles that tore through Germany's cities. Ella Fitzgerald and Marilyn Monroe share a moment at the Tiffany Club in 1954. The legendary singer and the iconic actress laugh together, capturing a rare glimpse of glamour, friendship, and the cultural energy of mid-century America. Taken in 1890, this image shows a woman restrained in a crucifix-like position inside a German asylum. The so-called cross-treatment was meant to calm patients by forcing stillness, an early, misguided attempt at controlling mental illness through physical restraint. A U.S. soldier stands amid crates and piles of loot stored by Nazi forces in Schlosskirche, Bavaria, in 1945. The photo documents the aftermath of the Allied advance and the recovery of art, weapons, and goods confiscated during the occupation. If you enjoyed exploring these incredible snapshots of history, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next adventure.